My Ozempic stock fine though. I guess everyone from my country wants to be skinny. I guess slay. I will say this about Cutie. I talked to a lot of people about stocks. She's the first person who spotlighted Ozempic stock. She was the first person on that train. She called it early. I bought it well after her, and I've made money on it. I bought it because she recommended it, and I made money on it, and she got it. However, Cutie also messaged me today saying, should I buy the dip in Intel stock? What was it? Intel and Nvidia. And I was like, you know, nobody knows, but I did say this. People call... You know, the initial reaction when you see something that was really expensive and it goes down fast, you're like, oh, well, Nvidia was great at $3 trillion. Why wouldn't I buy it at $2.5 trillion or whatever? That's called catching a falling knife. And I sent her this graph. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. We really don't know. I mean, things could rocket ship back and then rocket back down. The market's insane lately. Nvidia's had crazy swings. But it's called catching a falling knife because it so often leads in disaster. It's so often you're like, oh, it's a discount. It's on sale. I'll just always buy the dip. And then you buy it and it keeps dipping. And again, I'm not overstating what happened yesterday. The yen carry trade imploding is a big deal, but this is not Black Monday. This is not, people are talking about it on Twitter like it's the end of capitalism or whatever. But like an example would be Amazon. And it's hard to see on Amazon's chart because it's all so big. But Amazon dropped 90% in the dot-com bubble. It dropped 90% and it didn't get back to its 1999 highs till like 2009. All right. And Amazon is a great company. So if you bought Amazon, you know, during the dip, oh, buy the dip, 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 you had to wait 8 years to even get back to even. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's Amazon. Almost every other dot-com company went to zero. Or a company like Cisco, which is kind of called the Nvidia of its day. It was like the infrastructure of the internet, the way Nvidia's infrastructure of AI. Cisco has never gotten back to this peak. And this is like people like, imagine if, you know, this is Nvidia, right? It gets to this incredible height, one of the most valuable companies in the world. Then it dips and you're like, oh, buy the dip. And you buy it right here at 68. You don't get your money back even close for 20 years. Not even close. 2 decades of your life. You have to understand, like, this can happen. And these are both good companies. That's why I use these as examples. I think Cisco is a great example because it's not a bad company. It didn't die. It has employees. It does well. It sells products. But like, it gets overvalued sometimes. And there's a general feeling, especially among me, that the big tech stocks are clearly overvalued. That we shouldn't have 3 companies worth $3 trillion. It's ridiculous. So I hope that helps clear a little bit of things up. I have this whole presentation I want to give about the US recession. It's titled Slowly Then All at Once, but I kind of got thrown off by everything today. So is it better than copper? I couldn't tell you, Raz. I don't know. Again, you're talking about specific trades on specific materials. I couldn't tell you if that's a good idea. I do know that, like, in a very strange turn of events, China, which is normally a huge importer of copper, has a ton extra and they're exporting it at rock bottom prices. So I would assume that copper is doing really badly. If I had to guess, I would assume there's like a glut. I don't know what copper prices are. Copper, oh, it's way down. Yeah. Did you know that going in? Yeah, I wouldn't buy copper, bro. Well, that's not bad, 6 months, but recently down. Yeah, but you know, again, now it might rebound. We don't know. I hate, like, short-term price speculation is impossible. And people always want to, that's all people want to talk about is what's this going to do in the next few months. You're lucky if you can get a long-term multi-year trend. Thanks, Cutie. You bought them all? Hey, don't forget to sports bet. One thing, Cutie, is like you're always buying stocks, but you're not betting enough on sports. And I think my chat will tell you that is the best way to make some real money. It's diversification. You want a little bit on Nvidia, a little bit on Intel, a little bit on LeBron. Do you understand? No, I bet a lot on sports. Okay. Good. I'm not worried. You're outloaded. You're outloaded, Cutie. You're fine. They get the good deals. I was talking to Squeaks. He was telling me, does Bitcoin solve this? I'll just say this. Bitcoin is very clearly, if you want to invest in Nvidia stock, but want more wild swings, buy Bitcoin. They track each other 1-to-1. Bitcoin is just a hyper 3x levered QQQ, which is like the ETF that tracks high growth tech stocks. It's not it's not performing like digital gold. What is TQQQ? Is that triple? Yeah, this is it. I want to see what this looks like compared to Bitcoin. Dude, it's the same. It's the same. It's the same. I was actually joking, but it's the same. They move on the same thing. They're just based on excitement about tech and liquidity. It's not like a safe asset class, at least in performance so far, that like survives tough times. It feels like it's the first thing to get sold in shaky times. The Google thing, we can talk about it. The Google thing is good news. That's awesome. I really would have told you, I would have bet money that Google crushes that trial and that Lena Khan and the FTC don't win. And they did win. They won a big case against a big company. That's really crazy. We haven't had a big monopoly. I mean, it's going to get appealed and I'm sure there's going to be dragging it out, but like this is such progress. And I want to say something. The polls in the election are getting really close, and there's seemingly a really good chance that Kamala Harris could win. It's now neck and neck. Some polls have her edging it out. I just said edging, so everyone's gonna spam edging. Let's pause for a second. Some polls still have Trump winning. I still think, especially if the economy continues to shake turbulence, I think Trump's probably going to take it, but we don't know. If she does win, there are some of her donors that are really trying to get her to break with Joe Biden and fire Lena Khan. And I just pray, if there's one thing I could influence chat to care about, it's that you should be mad about that. I'm just trying to raise any way that I can some name profile of Lena Khan so that we know that she is legitimately doing actual good things for consumers. Not every one of them is going to save the world, but like we have never had a government in my lifetime that is actually pushing back even a little bit on corporate power and like reining it and making it think a little bit before it does whatever it wants. Lena Khan has done a very good job. Why do they want Lena Khan gone? All of the big like Hollywood moguls, like Reid Hoffman, the Netflix guy, he's a big Kamala donor and was saying how love Kamala, really hope she gets rid of Lena Khan. All right. Billionaire, by the way. They would like to get rid of Lena Khan so they have a free green stamp to merge and acquire anyone. There is a real hunger on Wall Street and in Hollywood and a lot of places to start consolidating as much as they can. They would like to really try, I mean, especially like, for example, Netflix would like to acquire a bunch of other streamers and streaming companies, production companies. They would like to become as close to a monopoly in streaming as they can be. They're already the leader. They'd like to be the monopoly. And they know that if they try that right now, it'll get blocked. So they would love Lena Khan to be gone so they can start acquiring. Now, my understanding is if Trump wins, Lena Khan's gone for sure. But I was hoping that if Kamala wins, she wouldn't be gone. But now I'm getting worried because of these donors. So I just really, really hope that Lena Khan, no matter what, we can get her to stay in power. Reed Hastings, I'm sorry, yes. I think actually I'm talking about Hoffman. Wait, I said Hastings from Netflix, I'm sorry. But Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn billionaire, I'm sorry, LinkedIn. That's my take on that. And so I'm happy that they won against Google. Now, what does it mean? Well, I was reading through the judgment and it was really good. It was like, hey, listen, Google is good at search. They do a good job. They're probably the best search engine. However, spending multiple billions of dollars to lock out all of their competitors from things like Apple phones is anti-competitive and there's no way to get around it. Like other search engines would have popped up, but they have been blocked out by Google being the default everywhere. And it makes it so they don't have to innovate as much. And it makes it so it's bad for consumers. And it's like, yes, how did the judge figure that out? Because you're always usually wrong. And so now the problem is they didn't have a punishment yet. There's no punishment. It basically said, hey, they're guilty of being a monopoly and we haven't decided what to do about it yet. But if there is a punishment, it could be as high as requiring a breakup of some of Google's assets. The big one, this will never happen, but the big one would be spinning off YouTube. If YouTube had to be a different company, oh my God. I think zero chance of that, but I also thought zero chance they would lose this trial. So I don't know. The other one would be, major fines or new rules, or they might just ban it. And they might just ban Google from spending money to become the default, which that alone could have big impacts down the line as new competitors start to gain traction. You're probably the only bear ever work at NVIDIA. Yeah, it's funny that people call me like a perma bear or anything. When if you actually look at my history, I only started streaming in 2020, but like until 2021, I am the world's biggest brain dead tech bull. I am all in, levered long, Amazon, NVIDIA. Let's fucking go to the moon. AI is taking over the world, tech stocks. I made all of my money from the only thing that made me start to change my mind was in 2021, crypto and NFTs. And I was like, wait a minute. People I used to respect are talking about these things as good investments, and it feels wrong to me. It always, from the beginning, and I can be honest, but I've never owned crypto. From the beginning, it always sat wrong with me. Like, this is clearly worthless, especially all the shit coins. So I've always been skeptical about that. And then in 2021, I also said Tesla stock is like, man, this feels weird. Like, why is Tesla stock so valuable? And the only prediction, I didn't predict a recession in 2021. In 2021, you can go watch the video. The only negative economic thing I predict is like, hey, I think Tesla's overvalued. And guess what? Go watch that video and then go back to Tesla stock from when I said it. Guess when Tesla stocks peaked? 2021! 2021 is when they peaked. It has never gotten back to where it was in 2021. And then I didn't do predictions in 22. And then 23, I started talking about recession. In 23, I said by Q2 24, I think there'll be a recession. Now, I don't know if we're in a recession right now, but I do know that if we are, I nailed it. I said Q2 24. You can find the clip. And I don't know if we're in a recession right now. They have not declared us in one, and I don't think I personally don't think we are nominally in a recession. But I do think they could say that the recession that we are headed towards started in this time. And for people saying that we aren't in one yet, I would like to bring you back to, I remember this. I am so in the weeds that I remember this. I'm going to find it right now. 36K views 15 years ago.
Signs were everywhere, but now it's official. We are in a recession. The research group that makes that determination made it today and said the recession actually started a year ago.
Ah, interesting. So they didn't declare that we were in a recession until a year afterwards in 2009. A year ago. So if we're in one right now, we're not going to know. So everyone's saying we don't know. We're not in a recession right now. Just understand that there's no way we can know until all the revisions come in. They take many quarters. If we are in a recession right now, we're not going to know for a long time. And they certainly aren't going to announce it during an election year. But I will say, 3 out of 5 Americans think we're in a recession right now. So understand that, like, you're at least in good company. All the recession stuff and the state of the world. What advice would you give you, a Gen Z kid? Yeah, I was trying to think about this. I was trying to sum this up in a way that I feel like there's going to be so much, there already is so much news, and there's going to be more crazy news. And I think it's going to be easy to be overwhelmed. And my best advice is, like, to take the emotions down a bit. Understand you can only control what you can control. The world's going to happen around you. Take management of the little sphere of influence you have in your own life. And the best, simplest, and financial advice is to stay out of debt. To keep debt simple. The worst thing that can happen in a moment like this is to have a lot of debt-based obligations forcing you into things that you don't want to do. That's the best advice I can give. And I think, and again, I'm generally an optimist for the future, but I think our next few years are going to be crazy. I think we're at the end of a big debt cycle. There's going to be unrest and problems and political change and monetary change, financial change. I think it's all happening, and it's going to be spooky. But understand that most of it doesn't directly affect you. Worrying about it doesn't change anything. Being knowledgeable does help, but with no emotion. And don't forget to sports gamble. Again, I think you can get news overwhelmed too. I mean, I like doing it now because it's kind of like part of my quote unquote job, if you can call this a job. But I don't know that I would consume this much news if it wasn't. I wouldn't read every day news about everything because it can stress you out. It doesn't help you. I don't know that it helps you so much.